Hello. Hospital bags ready. I've been feeling a bit unsure about going out recently and high alert, just trying to avoid getting any symptoms. Got everything we need, we think, although how do you ever know? Pillows, snacks. We think we've got enough snacks. It's been quite hard to get snacks. My husband thinks I've overpacked. I certainly don't think you can overpack in a pandemic, but let's wait and see, I suppose. Other than that, we're playing the waiting game.
When we did a call out for this episode, we said we wanted stuff to do with health and so-called underlying conditions, but what we actually got back was video that really deals with fundamental things that up until this crisis started, a lot of us barely thought about. Huge questions about life and death and everything in between.
Good morning. It's time to start another day of isolation.
So the first thing, and probably the most important thing I do every day, is my stretches and my physio exercises.
This is James. He's 26. The medication he takes for his arthritis suppresses his immune system. So he's one of the 1.5 million people who can't leave where they live for at least 12 weeks.
So this window here is in my bathroom, and it's actually the only window I have that I can open. I sometimes come here and stand because it's the only place I can actually breathe some fresh air. It's just a little reminder that the outside world is still there. On the outside, I like to collect football shirts of places I travel to. I don't always know when the next time I'm going to be able to get to. Luckily, I had a drop off recently, so I have some fresh vegetables. Here we have my medicine drawer. I know it looks like a lot, but it keeps me moving and out of a lot of pain, so I can't really complain. I'm supposed to have a delivery of Eternicept, which is one of the medicines that I take. They've had some troubles finding my place, so I'm praying that today they'll be able to find me because I'm running a little bit low.
Find it.
Oh yeah, here you are. Thank you.
So we were introduced to James about a week ago by this sort of charitable umbrella organisation called National Voices, who want to give people with so-called underlying conditions a voice. And what's really striking about the time when we followed him is watching him live through this crisis in the most exacting, meticulous, organised way imaginable, just as the government is coming under attack for, at least in the sort of early stages of all this, being almost the exact opposite.
What have you guys been doing for like lockdown anyway? What have you guys been doing?
Not working, bro.
A lot of people don't get it. I mean, a lot of my friends as well, like when I told them, they were shocked that I counted in this category. Because I think they just thought, oh, it's just all the grandmas.
3 weeks and counting, yeah?
So when I told them, yeah, like, I can't come to the pub, I'm like, I might end up dying if I end up going there with you. Like, it's not really that.
Total number of deaths in England and Wales has risen to its highest weekly level in 2 decades. The Office for National Statistics says...
There were growing concerns that there's insufficient PPE and testing.
We have millions of pieces of PPE in the stockpile, and I can make sure that we get
The political ritual always feels somewhat distant from reality on the ground, but the gap between this daily press conference and the sort of conversations we're having with people now every day feels like it's getting bigger and bigger.
What I'm hearing anecdotally from a lot of people is that cancer treatments are being put on hold. Patients are telling me that they can't have their scan. I've got somebody who's waiting to have a biopsy on the lung, so there can be no actual diagnosis of his condition until he's had the biopsy, but actually he is clearly dying to me, and yet nobody has told him. And it seems to me almost a bit unfair that if you've got COVID-19, you will get treated, and if you haven't, you won't.
So I've got a glioblastoma. It's a grade 4 brain tumour. I was due to go back to the hospital for my next round of chemo, but obviously I got a phone call saying don't come. My diagnosis is terminal anyway, so my treatment was just in the hope of keeping it stable. And we going walking, one of our discussions was, well, technically I'm terminally ill, and with that comes a 12-month prognosis. And actually, do I want to spend 3 months of those 12 months sat in my front room?
So here I am, my daily walk. It's after 7:30 at night. I live in quite a rural area, so I've waited till now till there's There's nobody about really. There aren't often many people around. As you can see behind me, there's nobody there. A few sheep.
This is me trying to get the baby out and trying to social distance at the same time. It's a bit unnerving walking around, trying to avoid people.
I've had quite a run of bad night's sleep because I'm getting spasms and cramps in my legs, which is really frustrating because I'm in a wheelchair and I can't move them when I want to. But that's the tangible effect of not having physiotherapy, not being able to go to the swimming pool or exercise. So I assume I'm not gonna get a full night's sleep until after lockdown.
I'm one of the approximately 45,000 people of working age who live in care homes in this country. It feels uniquely, I hate this word, vulnerable.
Some communities have proved to be particularly vulnerable to COVID-19. An example is Alum Rock in Birmingham.
Assalamu alaikum guys. Just a quick update for you guys. Alum Rock Road, absolutely on lockdown.
Wait, he's here.
Javid is part of the Alum Rock Community Forum.
It seems that the coronavirus has disproportionately affected ethnic minority communities. Does it feel like that from where you are?
It does a little bit. I mean, obviously, by losing so many people within that community, I personally myself, I've lost nearly 11 people I knew in the last 2 weeks, so including my family. You know, it's been a hard time. I mean, we can't go to the funerals, go on, hug and caress people. You know, a lot of the community have suffered, but they've responded really brilliantly.
Assalamu alaikum guys. I'm just here at Gumgol Sharif. These guys have risen up, and alhamdulillah, they are doing 5 janazas a day. I won't show you the body themselves, obviously, but at least at the amount of coffins. And just look at the coffin, it scares you, really does.
It's been really heart-touching, to be honest, to see so many good people come out and become one unity, and helping the nation. Local community businesses, the shop owners, the takeaways. A bedding factory locally is obviously closed, and they've got the material, and they made 3,000 body bags, morgues in the car parks, which is not a very nice scene to see, but yeah, it is what it is. These people who are recently lost, yes, they had underlying issues. They were quite old, but obviously they could have lived a lot longer than if it wasn't for COVID-19.
Yeah, it's almost like when we talk about old people or people with underlying conditions, it's like we think this them dying in the midst of all this is somehow the natural order of things, and it's not. These are people who otherwise would be alive.
Absolutely, so a lot of them would be still around us today. I mean, these were the pillars of our community. These are our elders, our loved ones. Losing them, especially in COVID-19, especially the time that we're in, is heartbreaking.
In my little bit of the demographic map, too often older people are sort of shoved out of the way and ignored. But in their community, there's a very powerful idea of elders and all that. And they're the people who are dying. I hadn't considered that. So, Richard, can you tell me, first of all, just about your mum?
My mum's name was Sheila Kempner. Smiling, happy, lovely, caring, gentle, warm person. I mean, everybody says that about their mums, I'm sure, but it's how everybody that ever knew her ever felt about her.
This was the last video filmed of Sheila and her family in the care home she recently moved into. She had a condition that had suppressed her immune system for the last 20 years. She was 86.
And in the last few months before lockdown, she had definitely rallied in the care home in a way that we were delighted and surprised and amazed by. And then the lockdown happened. And she started to feel really lonely and sad and upset, and we explained to her what was happening, and she understood what was happening. I thought that she was safe. That's the whole point of the lockdown, wasn't it? The care workers doing the best they can without protective equipment must have brought it in. To try and get any kind of regular feedback was astonishingly difficult. I got through to her a couple of times and she was trying to speak, but I couldn't make out a single word she was saying. So maybe I should have just tried a lot harder to get that feedback, but it was so sad and so horrible. What's really happening to elderly people in care homes needs to be shouted about, not covered up, not understating the numbers. And I can only assume they're doing that because they're embarrassed about how they've handled this whole situation. Allowing us to be one of the last countries in the world to go into lockdown, allowing millions of people to travel on the tube, allowing care workers into care homes without protective equipment, leaving my mum to die alone. And my story is just one of, no doubt, tens of thousands.
The question in this bit is, how much do you want to implicate the government and have a go at the government? See, part of me feels, well, no, the writing is on the wall in the sense that they did wait too long to have lockdown. And the more I hear about this PPE thing, the more there is clearly a huge case to answer. I've just seen now that the EU has an EU-wide procurement scheme for PPE. Do you know about that? And we told them we didn't want to take part.
Yeah, what strikes me is the contrast between that and people like James and all of these people. The seriousness with which they approach their task of staying safe.
And there's somehow this idea that if we'd all sort of muddle through. And that's just not an option to a lot of the people that we've spoken to. As soon as this thing came around the corner, they had to think, right, I am now at high risk. What am I going to do?
We think that everyone is pretty well taken care of.
Whole communities have also responded to this crisis with the kind of urgency and impressive organisation that's often seemed to be lacking at the top.
A good example of people and places coming together really quickly is that where I live,
Hi, Dave.
Overnight, the town council, which doesn't have to do much according to the letter of the law, but it's turned itself into the deliverer of this huge social programme.
And normally they sort of hear about food, right? But we're talking medicine here as well.
Yeah, I've noticed this. You see people gassing it around on bike because they don't really belong in it. They're like couriers you see in London. You don't see them in Somerset usually, right? And what they've got in their packs, on their backs, is people's medicine.
I've got prescription delivery.
It's so spontaneous. Loads of people are doing these things at once to the point they almost feel like they've become cliches, but they've only become cliches in about the last 10 days. Clothing businesses making masks and gowns.
This is a set of scrubs. And I own Thomas Ray Taylor shop here up in Easterhouse. 3 years ago I had a heart attack myself and the NHS fixed my heart, so I just thought this is payback time.
And it's universal. Someone asked me the other day, have you observed any differences between the levels of this self-help going on across particular communities? And now it's different. I said, it doesn't seem to be different at all. It's just happening everywhere.
This is my little sewing room. I've been on Facebook asking for donations of material, elastic, cord, buttons, etc. To me, an activist is not just about protesting. It's about being passionate and doing what you can.
It's just a godsend for our nurses that are on the front line, and I can't thank you enough.
Oh, do you know, it's such a pleasure. It's you lot that's doing the hard work.
We're here in the Labour Suite. It is about 1:30 in the morning, so wish us luck.
And then there's Tredegar.
It's so important to keep these people safe, so that's what we're doing at the moment. Medical drops right the way around Tredegar, Ebervale and all around Blaine and Gwent.
These two people we've been speaking to used to be filmmakers, right? And now they're at the heart of this kind of massive self-help organisation in the valleys.
I mean, that is sort of rich with symbolism. That that part of South Wales has got very high levels of infection, but also it stands as a symbol of the NHS, because Anara Bevan, who founded the NHS, was from there, and the inspiration for the NHS was these various health schemes, hospitals, doctors, surgeries and all that were put in place by miners before the NHS was invented.
And now they're doing it again.
Your man.
There's bound to be all sorts of lessons that come out of this, aren't there? People mucking in and checking in on their frail and vulnerable and older neighbours to make sure they're okay reasonably regularly, and that being done on a sort of organised basis, right? That has to endure.
It is a really tough time at the moment, especially for people in my position. Not knowing when you're going to be able to go outside, breathe some fresh air, see people in person. It's crazy, but I know once this is all over, I'm just not going to be able to take the small things in life for granted again. Like going to the gym, seeing your friends, like giving your mum a hug, like these small things that you kind of take for granted until it's all taken away from you and you realise how important they are.
And we have a little arrival. She's quite a large arrival. Little baby girl, £8. It turned out to be quite a difficult labour. What gets you through is visualising the future and what that will be. And I hope that for everyone visualising the future in whatever difficult situation you're in right now, I hope that has some help for you.
The music you've heard through this episode is from a brilliant album called The General by Haiku Salu. Okay, now I know that you are new parents, like a matter of months. What's that like in the midst of all this?
So our baby's 3 months old. She's a welcome distraction, actually, to all the horrible things going off. But
it's nice to have a bit of extra stolen time together.